Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Last Non-Classic, episode number 1012, and Doubleshot number 906. Yeah, first time in a while I've actually done 3 Comic Corners in a row. Yep, this time I'm doing 2 Iron Man trades. First up, it is an Iron Man trade that actually is a combination of 3 trades for the publishing year 2008-2009. This is Iron Man by Fraction and Larroca. That's Matt Fraction and Salvador Larroca. Yep, this is the start of Matt Fraction's 4-year run on the book of Iron Man. Yep, 4 years. This collects the first 19 issues of his run. Yeah, this collects the first 2 story arcs. Despite the fact that, wait. You're probably thinking, wait, 2 story arcs, and yet you say 3 trades. There is an explanation for that. The first arc in here is known as the 5 Nightmares. It's a 7-part story which involves Iron Man having an encounter with Ezekiel Stane, the son of Obadiah Stane. And no, this is not the first time he's actually made a first appearance. He made his first appearance pages of a book called The Order. This is what Iron Man basically figures out he's behind some stuff basically he was doing. And when you read these, when you read this trade, wait, why do they refer to him as Director Stark? Because it takes place after Civil War 1, and since this came out in 2008, this came out before the events of... Basically, the storyline takes place before Secret Invasion. That's when the storyline takes place. The finale is simply put him having an encounter with Spider-Man, dealing with the aftermath of this storyline, which basically involves Ezekiel Stane being arrested. He's not gone very long. Nope, he shows up. As far as I know, he shows up before the series issue 500. Yep. And then the remaining 12 issues of this trade is the World's Most Wanted storyline. This is a storyline as part of the Dark Reign stuff. It's lasted for an entire year. Yes, Norman Osborn was in charge, so Tony Stark has been fired as director of S.H.I.E.L.D., will replace with Hammer, so he has turned over everything, including his frickin' armors. Yeah, it's like Frax took ideas from Denny O'Neil when Obadiah Stane took over his company back in the 80s. But at least Obadiah Stane wasn't a freaking tyrant, like Norman Osborn was. Like, oh boy. And this also has several characters. Now, this is something I don't like about this particular trade, at least these issues. It's Maria Hill. For some reason, the artist thinks that she's a brunette, even though she's a raven hair woman. Yes, this is Maria Hill. Now, I appreciate Larroca got her look right, but why the heck is she a brunette? Because if you read any of her books she appears in, she has black hair. Her hair is not brown. Why is the colorist mistake her hair for being brown? She's a raven-haired woman. She's got black hair, not brown. That's a minor thing compared to this particular story stuff in here. Now, the players in this particular storyline in World's Wanted is the main villain is, of course, Norman Osborn, and the supporting villain is Victoria Hand. Here are the supporting characters in this particular storyline. You have Pepper Potts, who's been pretty much the main character this whole thing. We also have the Black Widow shows up in here, because why not? Maria Hill, who's basically a supporting character in this book since the starting of this run. Let's see, we also have Madame Matt shows up for a few issues. And we also have Dimitri, one of the Crimson Dynamo, show up in here, which is fantastic. Also, at one point, now Iron Man stops wearing the armor he got from Civil War 1 and goes back to an armor he had not worn since 2004, his old Heroes Reborn outfit, his Heroes Reborn armor, which is my friend Edgar is one of his favorite armors. I do like this armor, but it's a good look for him. But the only reason why he's wearing it because he can't wear his regular armor because Norman Osborn hacked into his whole stuff. And this whole storyline sets up the next arc for the series, Stark Disassembled, which basically is a storyline where Stark is basically brain dead for most of a storyline, which leads to the events of Siege. It's essentially put a 6-part storyline comes right after this one. Yep. But in the case of World's Most Wanted, it's a great storyline. And, well, Norman Osborn basically is a very arrogant guy. He even gets a chance to briefly fight Iron Man in the old, Mark Zero armor. Yeah, an armor he wore once back in his debut appearance. Now, you're probably thinking, if you read his debut appearance, and you're here why the heck is he transferring Afghanistan when he made the appearance? it was in Vietnam. It was like, I think it was in Vietnam. There is an explanation for that because Warren Ellis retconned it. Because here's the thing: the place of where he built his armor has been changed a couple times over the years. First was Vietnam, that was the 60s. In the 80s, it was frickin' China. And then in 2004, thanks to the Shema storyline, they changed it to Afghanistan. Because why not? And they also established the fact that Iron Man made his debut back in the 90s. That's Warren Ellis for you. He didn't never, according to the storyline information I read, he had never read an Iron Man comic before. He did write a good story, and of course they mentioned Extremis here, which basically plays a big part in Matt Fraction's run for this particular book. It didn't play a big part in the previous Raiders run, which I think that was John Miller who wrote the book during that period of time after Warren Ellis left. I think wasn't Ben Benson right until 2015, but the Extremis. That plays a big role in this particular book. It pretty much plays a big role up until the very end. It's one of the key plot points of this entire run. Yep. And when this book ends, it sets up Dark Disassembled. I gotta say, for the first 19 issues of this run, it's really good. I enjoy this stuff. Yep. Now, those of you probably thinking, okay, now this contains the first 19 issues of Invincible Iron Man, which I think is the fifth volume. Okay, there is an explanation for this of why this happened. And the reason is pure and simple. Iron Man 1 was released the same year, and they wanted to restart the book as a marketing ploy. And here's kind of something quite interesting. Apparently, Iron Man sales skyrocketed because of the release of Iron Man 1. Thanks to Robert Downey Jr. playing the character. So, yes, Iron Man 1 got this book to sell really well, and why Matt Fraction the book for 4 years. Until he left in 2012, handing up to Karen Gillian, who pretty much wrote one of the most despised runs in the history of the book, and then was handed to Tom Taylor briefly, and then Brian Michael Bendis, and now we hand off to the current writer of the book, Dan Slott. Here's the first way to collect his run when it was relaunched as Tony Stark Iron Man, and yes, the logo is basically based upon the Stark Industries logo from the MCU. This collects the first 5 issues of his run, and I do like some of the stuff that Slott does. You know, the artwork in here for the first 4 issues done by Valo Suchi, I think I pronounced the person's name. The 5th issue is now by Mark Dexbar and Gang Hu Lim. Now, there is things I do like about this particular book. One, it has the return of Bethany Cabe, which this is technically the first time she's appeared in any comic book at the time this book came out last year, for the first time in 6 years. She had not appeared since the end of Matt Fraction's run. What the heck she's not there for 6 years? No idea. Because I have honestly no idea. We also have other supporting characters in this book. We also have Jocasta, because she has those connections to Iron Man. We also have, we also have a new character who made his debut here. I think some old Genesis who Tony Stark is no friend of his. And we also have, of all people, Machine Man appear in this book, and apparently he hates humans. Don't know why, because last time prior to this book he showed up, he apparently had no problem with humans at all, and yet here he's basically written to be so anti-fleshling for some reason. Oh yeah, and for some reason they changed his look. Now, honestly, I have no idea why in the world they did this. Yes, as far as I know, we also have an appearance in here, and this is a plot thread that happens about the first, around 12 issues prior to War of the Realms. Yes, my friend Edgar's least favorite Iron Man villain, the Controller, pops up in here. Yeah, he also popped up in here as well, where he took control of Maria Hill. Yep. Let me show you what the Machine Man looks like. We also have James Rosebeard here, because why not? Best friend. We also have Sunset Bean. Now, those of you curious of who the heck this guy is, this is Gauntlet from the Avengers Initiative series, and they changed his look. But yeah, that's Gauntlet. Yeah, he was the drill instructor during the Avengers Initiative series, and he was also a member of New Warriors when they were going to the Avengers Resistance during the Dark Reign stuff. Yep. And here he is. Aaron Stack, the Machine Man. And wow, he looks so different For one thing, he's more metal than usual. As for why he's like this, because he hates fleshlinks. Well, he calls them flesh bags. No idea why in the world he's basically written like this for, but that's Lancelot for you. Yep, we also have a virtual escape thing in here. We also have Tony Stark getting back in a relationship with the Wasp. The first time since the 80s that these two have actually hooked up, which I thought that was an interesting choice. His mom is also supporting character, yeah, Tony's biological mother, along with one other character who did make a return at the end of Bendis' run. I'm gonna show him to you. He's a guy who I was quite surprised that Slott remembered this guy existed, because apparently Bendis forgot until the end of his run. Meet Arnold Stark, who's no longer wearing his armor that he was wearing before. Now, he is simply put somebody who, as for what the heck he does, I think he's just... I think he charged the Maria Stark Foundation. I think that's what he does. He's just an independent businessman who's loosely associated with Tony Stark. Yep. And pretty much just does his own thing in issue 5 while trying to sleep with Sunset Beam. Yes, that's pretty much what he's trying to do. First, Tony tries to do it, and then his brother tries to do it too, because why not? Now, I do appreciate, though, that Slott remembered that Tony's got a brother, because Bendis apparently forgot. Because if you read the entirety of Bendis' run up until the end of his run for the Search Tony Stark, I think Bendis forgot this character existed, and somebody, I think it was probably Dave Marquez, or whoever the artist was, remembered that, hey, Tony's got a brother, can we put him in the book? And Bendis is like, what, really? He's got a brother? Okay, I'll throw him in. At least Slott remembered, which, gotta praise Slott for that, because half the time, he doesn't forget much of anything. And I gotta say, for the start for his particular run for Iron Man, it's good. It's a good start. That's basically a good start for this run. I do like the fact that he gives Tony Stark his own supporting cast, though he does create one new character, but mostly everybody else here pretty much just regular supporting characters anyways. Give this book a 9 out of 10. My friend Enger is not a fan of this run, because currently it's not going much of any place, though they did have a couple issues read by Gail Simone, which I thought that was really good. Though, I did see also recently that in upcoming solicits, he's got to face off against freaking Ultron again, which, last time I checked, last time he showed up was back in Secret Empire, which was 2 years ago. Yep. Now, I do agree with him hooking up with the Wasp. This is an excellent idea, because why not? Though the thing is, if anyone remembers her, the last relationship she was in, which she was with Havoc, Cyclops' brother, which apparently every single writer forgot as soon as Rick Remender left. Yeah, that was one of the many things that every single writer just simply tried to ignore from Rick Remender's time in Marvel, because it seems everybody wants to forget anything he established, like Eddie Brock as Venom, Sam Wills as Captain America, and a bunch of other things. But yeah, his relationship with Havoc, that was all Rick Remender's doing. Yep. And I do think this is a good idea for her to do. Now, the thing with the Wasp is she's never had any kids. Nope. Tony Stark has never had a kid either, but the only relative he has is his brother. But I do think it's a good idea, but she does technically have a child, though it's from her ex-husband's previous marriage. Nydia Pym, though she took her last name because she found out about the incident that happened back in the 80s that Steve Ecklehardt did when he slapped her. And that slap ended their marriage. Yep. What she heard was, the slap heard around the world. Yep. Which, right after she divorced her husband, divorced Hank Pym, dated Tony Stark for a weekend. Yep. So yeah, not much else to say about Iron Man, but yeah, I know that this run he's no longer reviewing until they do something new with it. This run, Matt Fractions, my friend Edgar, he's not a fan of the way this run ended because they killed off the Mandarin. Yes. But for the artwork by Larroca, I think he does a good job in here. for the characters. I don't mind how he draws the characters here. It's the coloring for Maria Hill's hair I have a problem with. But that's a minor thing. But it's a good epic story, and I do appreciate what Matt Fraction was doing at that point in time. And I appreciate rereading stuff from that period of time, from like 2004 to about 2012. That was a good period of time, personally, for me anyways, because there's a lot of really good stuff that had published that period of time. I mean, there's nothing against stuff published today, but a lot of really good stuff published that period of time, because that's when I jumped into comic books. Of course, now, believe it or not, this year marks 15 years since I started reading comic books. Yep, 15 years. Isn't that something? And I've read a ton of comic books. Like, probably close to about 2,000 or 3,000 by now. Maybe more. Yep. But not much else to say about these two trades, but I do recommend them. Mostly I recommend the first one. Second one I recommend only for Dan Slott fans. But if you're an Iron Man fan, if you're curious, check it out. Okay? So yeah, that's it for this particular review. And that's it for all the reviews I plan to do today. Because tomorrow I only have two planned. Review the newest episode of Black Clover, and of course I'm also reviewing newest chapter manga, along with newest episode released for Fairy Tail, okay? But do you see you next view. Bye.